everybody. It's Dr. Hinson here.
And Dr. Donnelly.
And we're the doctors of Abbey Research. And we are here for our Handmaid's Tale recap and analysis of episode 6, First Blood. Ominous title, which, spoiler alert, we all know at the end what that ominous title is referencing.
I think it's referencing something else too. I think it's a double, so we'll get to that.
Ooh, a double. Ooh, fancy. We just talked about this. We don't really have a whole lot of stuff from either of our expertise in this episode. It was still a really great episode and we want to talk about it. So we're going to just do an extended recap-ish and insert our bits of analysis where they come in. No long 20-minute rants about freedom and or religiosity today. So we're giving you and ourselves kind of a week off, which I think even The Handmaid's Tale did a little bit this week with this episode.
Yeah, so we start with like an opening where we're back in the OBGYN office. Yes. And there's like a plastic screen preventing preventing June from seeing her baby. And then Serena offers to let her see the ultrasound. And I had this moment of like, okay, Serena, what's the long game here? Like, what are you doing? And then I thought, I think this is just her innate womanness where we want to connect with other people coming out. Like, he is so fecking lonely. Like, bless her socks. Her life is awful too. And she is just craving normalcy and the things that she always dreamed of.
Yeah, and that's like going back, we saw that in the last episode where she just really, really wants personal connection.
She's so hungry for it.
Starved for it. Mm-hmm. And so realizes this is an opportunity to maybe, and I think she's also thinking maybe long game, if she can build a personal relationship with June, maybe June won't want to leave. I don't know. If she's nice to her, maybe she'll stay.
And I think we see that throughout the episode as you just said offline, they keep wanting to treat June like a human, but the problem is when you treat June like a human, June becomes June. And they can't, that's what they're not comfortable with. Yeah. So after the birthing center, we're back at the house and we start to see a little bit more of Eden, who is wifey of our Nicholas.
Great name.
Yeah, very symbolic name. Hopefully she is as fertile as the garden is for her own sake.
For everybody.
For everyone's sake. I thought it's interesting that she's like still supposed to help Serena. So it's like this like wife apprenticeship?
Like hierarchy? She's teaching her how to run a household, right?
Yeah. So that's whatever. And then I'll say every single one of my favorite moments of this episode came from when June and Nick were in the room alone together. Like every single one. Like I loved both of those scenes so much. So she opens with shade, like, so how's your wife? What time's her bedtime? Like,
I know. Amazing.
We find out definitively that she's 15. A little later on in the episode, but so much of the rest of the episode makes sense that she's 15.
Yes. Cotton socks.
Yeah. So then we head to the new Rachel and Leah Center.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is like a chrome temple to oppression. It's delightful.
Isn't it just a shiny new building of enslavement?
Yeah. There's several things here. First of all, they talk about how many more girls we can process. Mm-hmm. And Lydia is like beside herself with glee at the excessive oppression. So
happy. She is living her best life. Our Aunt Lydia.
Yeah, she is Joel Osteening Gilead for sure. And then it's Vest who tells Waterford it's Aunt Lydia. And Waterford are talking about the willful women in the Waterford household and how he has to handle them.
Yes. Yeah, he has to handle things at home. Mm-hmm. Great.
They're fine.
Yeah. He needs to step in. She tells him he might need to step in.
And we get a little clue as to, like, again, the geography of this thing when they say we're expecting brothers from every district.
Yeah.
So, again, I think this is the leadership of the various districts.
I guess. Who knows how big Gilead is? I know several of our viewers shared maps with us.
Right, from the book, right? But we're still not sure about the show's thoughts on it, correct?
Yeah, and the map wasn't 100% clear on what Gilead's bounds were.
Okay.
And I watched, one of our viewers shared a video that went with an explanation from this other site. And there was a lot of supposition in the map based on what the book does and doesn't talk about. So it was helpful as a visualization. Like, I agree. I think the colonies probably are like the Southern Confederate states.
Okay.
Judging by like what they look like. I don't know. I've been to North Carolina and South Carolina. I know you have a lot. Like, it could be like once you get out of the Appalachians, I don't know.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, like in the book, was where all the Black people went because they were kicked out of Gilead. But we know that didn't happen in the show because we have Moira and other Black women and Black people still in Gilead. But maybe they're only the handmaids and all the other people of color were kicked out. We don't know. They won't tell us.
No, they're not interested in that question, and that's fine. Yeah. I'm coming to terms with it.
Yeah, we will just probably not know.
Never. Oh, and then they say some stuff later about Gilead that I think kind of, so we'll get to that when we get to that. But then we're back at the house with sweet Eden. I have, like, youth pastor Kristen comes out with Eden, and I just want to gather her and be like, girl, I know so many girls like her. So many.
Yeah.
My mother taught me to cook and keep house. She taught me about marriage, about everything. I know what's expected of me, she tells Nick. I know what God expects of me. And homeboy looks like he's in physical pain.
I know. I felt so bad.
So much of everything that was just in there is the purity culture video I talked about last time.
Yeah.
This is her entire personhood is tied up in her ability to reproduce. We hear this even later. What happens if he can't do it? What happens if I can't do it? What happens? She has no identity outside of a womb.
Yeah.
And that just breaks me for her.
She's not been given one. She's not been given one by the theology of the state. So
it wouldn't even surprise me if Eden wasn't her birth name, but she was like renamed when Gilead rose. So
Yeah. Or maybe she was like, maybe all of these, because one of them, when Vesti is talking about the brothers from another district, I think that's what they called members of the Sons of Jacob.
Oh, okay.
So maybe
these are all daughters of the Sons of Jacob.
Maybe these are all daughters of, so maybe they were born into, we don't know how long the Sons of Jacob were around for a while since the Boston Globe was talking about it, like as it started as this. So maybe like, it wouldn't surprise me if all these girls, I just thought of this right now, were brought, they were being honored because, they're going to pick families that they know they can trust. And so they're going to pick people who have children who were parts of the Sons of Jacob from way back. And
she's been training for this her whole life.
Yeah. So it could be that her name, she was born Eden. Years ago, that's how long the Sons of Jacob were around. Or I could also see the name change coming in because we know they like to change names.
They're big on it. It's a delight.
Yeah.
Right. So then we get back to a scene in the sitting room between June and Serena, where again we see how incredibly hungry Serena is for relationship. What I thought was striking about this scene is that as she touches June's stomach in this scene as well, just like a couple episodes ago, but this time June invites her to do it instead of Serena assuming she can.
And she puts her hand where the baby is actually kicking, as opposed to just like, it's not an empty gesture where like, she put your hand on my belly, I don't care. She like
moves it.
Yeah. And I think she's back to playing the long game like we talked about. I think she kind of learned she's back to herself now. We still don't have an internal monologue, which makes me uncomfortable, but she's very clearly June. 100% sass June is back. And she's playing the long game, and she's realized the power that she has, especially like the more desperate Serena gets.
Yeah.
She realizes, right, I have power because I'm pregnant. And that's what we see her asserting that. So her pregnancy is resistance now.
For sure.
She's asserting some measure of control over her life, over Serena. And, just like our June, she goes a little bit too far later in the episode, which we'll get to, and Serena lashes back. But I think she's back to playing the long game. Like, I'm not going to get out of here by not communicating, and I'm not going to get out of here by being like full resistance mode. So I have to find a medium now that she's promised her child that she's going to get them out of there.
Yeah. So then we have the flashbacks.
Yes. Woo!
And a couple quick things on that. First of all, Fred seems really turned on by how much people hate them. Like, he's really into it. And it's because it fuels the belief that they're right. And so she has a harder time with it. She's more shaken. She understands the need for safety. And he is like full hog ahead for the more they hate us, the more right we are. Yeah. And this is, for folks who are curious about like super hyper alt-right movements and super hyper supremacist movements and things like that, here's what I need you to take from this scene. Logic is not the tool we use.
Nope.
Because logic left the building many eons ago in terms of how discourse occurs. For example, as they're being escorted out, Waterford says, "This is America. She deserves the right to speak." There is no connection to the fact that what she is doing is denying other people the right to speak, and that if they do the logical end game of what they want, she'll never have a voice again.
Yeah, I screamed at my television. I was like, you wanted freedom of speech when it suited you and when you had something to say.
You use the Bill of Rights to make yourself in power, and then you lit them on fire. And zero time for you. There's the door. Yep. Yeah.
I have no time for Commander Waterford. I literally screamed at my television. I was like, no.
And then back in present time, we have another scene with Sweet Eden and June, which is June is a mother. Like, June is the one who's like.
Yeah, and you were right. You were right, because you said those young girls were going to go right to the Handmaids. Yeah.
Because they're the only ones that they know have had sex.
Yeah, and are still having sex, because like Eden knows that Serena's not having sex with her husband. She's not allowed to.
Yeah, and so even if she was, can we have a minute for that? Like that's not happening.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and she could have gone back to Serena, because Serena was the one who broached that conversation with Eden in the first place. But clearly, she doesn't feel like she can trust her, or that she knows or that she can go to her for that.
I don't think she can ask questions of Serena. I don't think she can admit that she doubts. I don't think that she, like, what June gives her is the non-shaming space that this is hard. Yeah. Like, when June says, "I think God understands that different couples are different," that might be the very, very first time Eden's ever heard anything like that in her life.
Yeah.
That there is grace. Eden's raised in a world devoid of grace.
Yeah. I loved June's face when she said, "What if he's a gender traitor?" And she was just like, no, he doesn't have a problem.
He's fine.
He's fine.
He's fine, sweetheart.
Don't worry about it. He's not a gender. It was hilarious.
Yeah. And then, again, with more normalcy, Serena arranges this brunch, which two favorite moments of that with some other handmaids. One, we got Nora Jones happening in the background.
Yeah.
And two, Serena had no idea Offglen had her tongue cut out.
Oh my God. Or she forgot. That was so cringeworthy.
I don't think she knew, because why would Waterford tell her?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's another way to remove Serena from power, even though she's clearly the one that got them to this place.
Yeah, I guess she didn't know. She found out.
Oh my God.
And I thought several things that were fascinating about that. How June kind of took over and started and managed to get them talking about old Boston, which Serena allowed, like,
and engaged with.
Yeah. I was like, what? We can just apparently, once they're pregnant, break all the rules.
Again, it's because the rules are built on shame and fear, and no one can live in that much shame and fear for very long. You've taught me that constantly with imprisonment. So it's like, it's not even that they're consciously breaking the rules, it's that they're so desperate to be human again.
Yeah, and it's this fascinating thing as well, like, because they built the prison within society, like, it's a lot easier to stick to the rules that you've made when you've created a separate space for where you're keeping people.
Yeah.
When you built the prison into society, it is so hard to maintain those walls, because you want society to look and feel normal. even if it's this freakish new normal where like women are enslaved and they can't write, it's still a prison, but the walls keep crumbling because everyone else is trying to be normal around them.
Yeah.
And you can't maintain dehumanization if you let people into normal societal interactions, or normal in Gilead terms, you know, like you can't, and you see that like humanizing June, I think the Waterfords think at this stage is going to keep her happy and keep her around. But like humanizing prisoners is not, that leads to resistance, that they will just keep pushing back, which is what June did throughout the whole episode.
And that's exactly what happens next. We have this conversation in the fully decorated nursery. June thinks that she's built up enough of a relationship with Serena to ask to see Hannah. What I found fascinating at this point is that Serena starts crying as she says no.
I know, like she doesn't want to.
And I think she has these dueling identities. She has the person that she was before she allowed herself to really give into this. I mean, way before. Like, I'm not saying like Gilead, but like before she wrote A Woman's Place, and like the whole where she understands that people can experience pain, which I don't think she gets anymore.
Yeah.
And then the woman who wrote the rules. And those two identities are warring. And when June leaves her and doesn't give in and still says essentially like, screw you, is when Serena then goes whole hog back into Gilead, because she can't trust her humanity anymore, because humanity caused pain. And all of Serena's life is about avoiding pain. All of Gilead is about avoiding pain.
Yeah. And we see, they don't explicitly talk about it, right? But Serena gets shot.
Yeah.
In flashback at the end of her talk when they're leaving, in her abdomen. And I think they want us to believe, I certainly took that to mean that she's not infertile.
Right.
That she can't conceive because she was shot.
Yeah, maybe she only has like one fallopian tube or something, yeah.
Like the damage from being shot in the part of her body that she was meant that she couldn't conceive.
Yeah. And the symbolism of the white outfit that she was wearing and all of that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So then after that, I mean, like June loses her mind, goes back downstairs, starts packing up the sitting room bed so she can go back upstairs. And she meets with Nick and looks directly at Nick and says, it's time to sleep with Eden. She's a problem.
Yeah.
Like,
I loved when she looked at him and she said, I can't lose you.
I can't see you on the wall.
Yeah. I cannot lose you.
I love you.
Do you understand?
She's your wife.
Yeah. And she was like, oh, I'm sorry. You don't want to sleep with somebody you're forced to? Oh, that was amazing.
Of course, that's not fair. Of course it's not fair.
Yeah. Of course.
You don't want to have to, you don't want to have to fuck someone you don't want to. Poor thing.
Yeah. Slow clap.
She's 15, okay? Like, she's consenting.
We're still in this, you're still in this position. So
then the sex scene is where I actually think the first blood double entendre comes from, because that sheet that they put over her is from Victorian times, and that's the virginity proof sheet. Yeah. So that was Eden's first blood, was that after they had sex that first time, I guarantee you Rita's gonna save that somehow or do something with that as evidence that she was in fact a virgin and therefore is more fertile, because I'm gonna guess that that's part of their really crappy theology, is that the closer you are to virginity, the more fertile you are. When that's not true. It's just the younger you are, the more fertile you are. Women's peak fertility stops somewhere around 21. Yeah. And so anyway, I just felt for her a lot. I have a lot, like I said, I have a lot of friends that live this life, that fell into this trap, that think that it's the same thing. It's their duty. There's no conversation about enjoyment. I mean, I just kept thinking about the physicality of it too. Like, there's no way her body was ready for that. There is no way that anyone explained to her what it takes to get your body ready for that kind of invasion. Like, it just felt, so that's what I think First Blood means primarily, but then also what happens later.
Yeah. And June, I wanted to get right back to June really quick, because one of the other things I wanted to talk about was this humanization, right? So we've seen, and dehumanization, and I talk about this all the time, you guys know this. But I wanted to point out that it was really important that, like, they're rewarding June for behaving, and she gets back to her room after she's, now Serena decided she's capable of walking the stairs, but she was always capable of walking the stairs. And all her furniture is back. Not her furniture, because it's not her furniture, but like the furniture.
Alfred's furniture is back.
Alfred's furniture is back. And like, see, if you behave like Alfred, you get to be a human being. So she gets those. So the importance of objects comes back in again to that. But June, we all know June doesn't associate any of that with being hers.
No. So, and also then the only thing that is hers, Waterford gives her back later that night. He comes and finds her and gives her a Polaroid of Hannah.
Yeah.
And she goes through the motions again of pretending that she's sexually attracted to him. She shuts it down by saying that like it's not good for the baby, which I love that these men don't read science books because that's not true. And at all. And then she begins to draw quite a lot of strength we can see from Hannah.
Yeah.
And that Hannah, again, has re-entered her life in a way that I think she had disassociated with because she had to survive.
Yeah.
And now that she's back in the game, it's like, okay, well, now Hannah's back on the table.
Yeah.
So now I can re-engage with Hannah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And we get more from Serena complaining about Waterford goes to her in her greenhouse.
So, yeah. And they fight like people who have no business being married anymore.
Yeah. My wife always so strong. I was like, fuck you. You enslave your wife. What are you? Okay, buddy. You
can grow seeds, but not humans, and you remind her of that every single day.
Every single day.
Great job.
You're doing a fab job as a human being. But she, calls June devious and plotting. She's always wanting more. And I'm like, yes, she's a human.
So you and I don't have sisters. So here's one of my questions, though. We didn't grow up with sisters. The way that the two of them talk about each other hits me a lot as sisters.
Yeah.
Where it's like they are each other's worst enemy, but they really want to love each other and they really know they're in it together and they, like all this kind of other stuff. So if you are somebody who grew up, Aaron and I both grew up with brothers.
Yeah.
So if you are somebody who grew up with a sister, could you, clearly it's a different dynamic, but some of like she's so devious and like came out of a very close proximity with a woman that you don't like, but are somehow related to dynamic. So comment on that in the show notes, if you wouldn't mind, in the comment section.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. 'Cause there's parts of the episode where I really felt like they were building a genuine connection.
Yeah.
And I think June recognizes the humanity that kind of seeps through Serena every now and then. And in part feels bad for her. And then, so it's this constant seesaw, this back and forth between the two of them, the push and pull, that we see at the end was so fabulous with the like sewing needles. Was one of my favorite parts of the episode. Where she was like, you have, so she's teaching Eden, Serena's teaching Eden how to be a mother, and you have to be in control of your household staff, whatever, total power play. So she picks it up for Serena because she's like, whatever, it's just Serena, I'm going to give her this. And then she makes Eden do it. And
Serena throws the knitting needle.
Yeah. And
then makes Eden do the same thing. And
Eden drops it, and she was just like, no, not to this girl. No.
I have a cramp.
I felt a cramp.
Good girl.
I felt a cramp. Walks away.
So then.
Yeah, so then.
One of those episodes that up to this point you could say is just a lot of quiet tension, a bit of a character study.
Yeah, building some background.
Nothing really insane. And then we head to the Rachel and Leah Center.
Grand opening.
Where Waterford's doing a thing and the handmaids are all lined up on the outside. And I was reminded again, if they didn't want us to be an army, they shouldn't have given us uniforms.
Right. Such a quote. But before we get to that part, I wanted to point out, we get some news from Nick.
Oh, that's true.
Where he speaks to Vesti about spying on the Waterfords and trying to get out of there. So I don't know if Nick feels like at that stage he has to leave so he can, because I still think he's going to try and get June out.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what he was doing. I was like, how are you going to help her by leaving and being reassigned? But now I don't think he's going to be reassigned because
I'm not entirely sure there is a Commander Waterford anymore because Offglen gets her ultimate revenge. and speaks very loudly.
Genius.
Through.
Genius.
And clearly every other handmaid knew. This was orchestrated. They all knew, because they all, as soon as she walked in, they started running.
Well, she looked back at them, and I think they realized, I don't think they all knew. I think she looked back at them and they realized something was happening.
Okay. I think definitely like of Steven and some of the other ones who knew her well probably knew. But yes, she blows herself up in the middle of the brothers.
In the middle of all the brothers from the district, all the other commanders, the whole building.
When we remove the voices of oppressed people, martyrdom becomes all they have. Yeah. So literally, she is that herself, but also, so clearly, and then it just ends there.
Yeah, so first blood of the revolution.
And first blood of virginity. Of virginity,
maybe.
Yes.
Arguably the revolution has been sort of happening. But this is the first part of an active resistance and an active violent campaign against the state.
So as we record this, it is Tuesday. So I'm not usually like Johnny on the spot with these episodes. I sometimes give them a little bit. Tomorrow, I believe that I will be waking up early to watch it.
Yeah.
Because I need to know what happened.
I have a graduation tomorrow at like noon, so I think I'm going to get up at 8, watch the episode.
Yep. Yeah. I have a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen the preview? Did you watch the preview for next week?
No, I couldn't get Hulu to load.
Oh, okay. I watched the preview. It's going to be tense.
Okay, well, I'm in a Hampton Inn tomorrow, so I may just like go down and grab my complimentary cookies and sit back upstairs and like nibble Otis Spunkmeyer cookies for moral support. I need to go talk to some food about my feelings about Handmaid's Tale.
I was about to say, eat your feelings on that one, because I think it's going to be a rough one.
Okay, well, guys, we have a ton of questions, and we know you do too. We tell us anything we missed. Tell us any things that you have specific questions on. We are honored by your participation. Legitimately, every time we get an email, the other one emails the other person is like, "Oh my gosh, make sure you respond to the comment."
Oh my gosh, we have a new subscriber.
We have a new subscriber. We have no chill when it comes to this whatsoever.
If you've seen that meme, that is one of our favorites of Lin-Manuel Miranda on, I think it's Jimmy Fallon, where he's like, "I have zero chill." That is us about this.
There is not chill among the good doctors regarding you guys. So we
so
there's just depression about Handmaid's Tale. Anyway, so please comment, bring us more joy, and selfishly give us joy. And just kidding. I hope we can be helpful. I hope we have been being helpful. And we will see you next week for our discussion of episode 7.
Yeah.
We got 6 more to go here, guys.
Whew. Yeah.
6, 7 more to go. Anyway, we'll talk to you all later. Have a great week.
All right. Take care.
Bye.